If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
The blah blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah blah blah.
Good vibes.
Blah
Good vibes.
blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
You can go to as many meetings as you want, but if you're not working the program, being sober is one thing, but having serenity and peace and joy and happiness is really what you're striving for.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with hometown hero, Stanley Cup champion, Olympic gold medalist,
World Junior champ,
fellow Canadian, fellow Calgarian.
clean and sober 14 years.
Yeah, Theoren Fleury. Some of you might not know who that is, judging by our audience and the subjects we normally cover. I would say that a lot of you probably don't watch hockey.
Yeah.
75% a year in the States. And I would like to think it's probably the section of the population that is less into sports already, and then Americans are already extremely disinterested in Canadian
The thing
sports,
is, but the thing is, I bet you if you're into sports at all, you probably know who Theo Fleury is.
Think so?
He's one of the best NHL players ever. I mean, he's in the top
he's a top 50.
39, I think he said,
He's
of
number
1,000 games played in the top 39 or something.
Yeah.
That's a pretty impressive career.
Oh yeah,
Being my size, like he's
but I
literally
think
an
there's
inch.
A bunch of Americans who don't know who Gretzky is.
He's no. Everybody knows who Gretzky is.
Everybody is?
Yeah.
I think you're living in a hockey bubble, bro.
I might be. No, but because sometimes I'm surprised when Americans know who Gretzky is.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, you guys let us know if you know who
It'll be interesting.
Fleury is or
Interesting to
Gretzky is.
know. Yeah. I mean, Gretzky wrote Fleury's forward, which is interesting.
That's right.
It's one of the first times Gretzky met Fleury. Fleury jumped on the back of a guy that was tussling with Gretzky. Or no, tussling with somebody else. And like Gretzky actually was on the opposite team. He was on Edmonton at the time, and Fleury was on Calgary, and he grabbed him and dragged him to the bench, like not in a fighty way, but in a in like the most prominent superstar of the league, taking Fleury kind of like,
you don't fight.
yeah, like just you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Gretzky, eh?
Yeah, Fleury just jumped on. I mean, he's a tough dude for like being an inch. He's an inch taller than me.
Is he taller than you?
Yeah, so shorter than.
I bet you.
But one of the short. I mean, smallest guys ever to play, really, and to do that well. I mean, it takes a lot of talent and a lot of work, I think.
Hey, you know who else? A little Canadian who did well? Little Steve Nash.
Yep.
Right. What are the chances that
little
dude?
though, dude? He's like 6'5", probably.
Steve Nash?
Yeah, man.
No, man. He's like your height.
No, he's not.
I'm telling you.
Oh my god,
this is
dude.
the thing about Steve.
Nobody's my height in pro sports.
Let me check. Steve Nash
Yeah,
height.
you go for it.
1.9 meters.
Oh,
well, I'm one.
ask
So he's
Siri to
actually.
convert.
Is he even
Ask-
taller than me?
of course he is. He's tall.
Oh, he's
dude.
6'3". Why
Oh,
did
there
I
you go. See, look at that. How close that was.
Why did I think he was short? Is he the Canadian one?
Well, because he's short compared to everybody else out there. He's a Canadian guy. That's why. You just think he's an underdog already. He's a white guy from Canada.
He did look short.
Yeah.
I thought he was like
I
5'7". Sorry, Steve Nash.
6'3".
I don't think he listens to the show. We'll be okay. Anyway, I didn't get a chance to introduce you. That's all right.
Oh yeah, I'm Graham.
And Graham Dunlop.
Yeah.
Graham.
No, this is
I
a
got it.
special.
We got Graham, the narrator Dunlop,
Thanks, buddy.
because your
Yeah.
first book
Came out today
came out today,
on Audible.
officially available on audio.
Not my book, but
Not your book.
but we're playing around with narration and stuff.
Yeah, we've
We've been doing some in the black budget, and that's kind of what led to it. I mean, there's so many things to read, and I mean, I'm an audio guy. I like to listen to stuff.
Well,
I don't have time to read, so for me, I'd rather read an essay, listen to an essay, or listen to
that is how
a
it
book
fucking
or an article.
started,
So it
isn't
kind of started like we were like interrupting essays was a black budget episode where we'd read essays to each other and kind of interrupt each other and sort of make it like a fun thing, not just a bland read.
Which, of course, eventually turned into the reading of the Unabomber Manifesto,
That's right.
which now I realize we could have released into the regular feed.
Well, maybe we'll do that.
We could release it as a bonus, maybe over Christmas or something.
So you know what a weird thing is? When I got sober, there would be 3 years after Theo Fleury got clean and sober, because he's 14 years now coming up. I think it's like right around this time, actually.
I'm at like 45 minutes. Because you count weed. If you didn't count weed, I'd be doing much better.
Yeah.
Well, actually, does a DMT count?
Well,
What about mushrooms? So if we don't count weed,
But-
DMT, or mushrooms, then I'm at like the last time I had a beer was in Oregon.
was it for last CAC?
Yeah, I didn't get drunk. I just had a beer.
Huh.
I had a beer each night while we played poker.
Right.
I haven't got drunk since my cousin's wedding
Really?
3 years ago.
Really?
I may never get drunk again.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, it
Not
really
good.
not for me.
No,
Not
I mean,
good for me.
not for me either. That's what I mean. I don't mean it. I'm not judging anybody else,
No.
but
Darren gets drunk and shit goes off the fucking rails, and then onto the rails, and then all bets are off.
yeah.
You
Oh
know-
man, I mean that Theo's book, like playing with playing with fire was crazy. I mean, this is playing at a high level of sports like that, and and
He was making like $8 million a year, I think, for the Rangers. And they were like paying people to follow him around because he was like hanging out in seedy fucking. What do you say? He's like, I spent most of my days like 3 levels below the streets.
Well, there was a couple instances like that. That wasn't, I don't think, a regular thing, but a lot of.
No, he says in the book that the Rangers had hired somebody.
Oh no,
to
I
keep
know
an eye
that.
on
No,
him.
I know that.
Yeah,
There was people following him. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, he's in their program, their alcohol and drug rehab program, and all that, and he'll go through these stages, and and he tried it. He was sober for a while, and then he'd relapse, and
Well, yeah, when
things
you're
would go
paid-
out the window. And
When you're paying a guy like $300,000 a week, you want to know what he's up to.
yeah, but
Well-
but he was. I mean, he made it through. I mean, he made it through. But I mean, a lot of people don't get out. But what I was going to say is, when I first got clean and sober, I narrated into a digital recorder, and I kept just thinking about this now. The AA book and the 12 steps and 12 traditions.
You did?
Yeah.
Where's the file?
I got it. Actually, it's probably on my computer.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's
It was
really
really shitty job, and it was on a little digital recorder. But for some reason, I just wanted to. I guess I was consuming audio back then, like 12 years ago, and I was like, I want to listen to this instead of reading it.
You know,
So I narrated all the chapters out, and
how many is it? Long book? How does it compare to Recovery Dharma? Same length?
longer, probably. Yeah,
So
probably
this is
longer, yeah.
hours. You spent hours
Yeah,
narrating this.
yeah.
Look at us, and I was talking into little
It was
tape
like 12
recorders.
years ago. Yeah, pretended to be a radio host.
Yeah, and we met in the middle.
And then, so that's the other thing. So Recovery Dharma is out as well as a free book, and it's a free. It's in our regular feed, isn't it? That
It's
one.
in our regular feed as an episode,
and it's an audiobook.
yeah, and it's also available on the Recovery Dharma website as a download. And I mean, we could put that in Audible if someone wants. I could make that into a file that they could put into Audible if they want to make a bit of money. Not us make money, but whoever owns Recovery Dharma.
Yeah.
Who owns-
Well, it's a nonprofit.
Well, yeah, so the nonprofit would get the money then.
Yeah, it might be in there.
would go down to
already.
whoever
No, it's on.
copyrighted
It's on.
the book.
Somebody else did it right after I'd recorded it. I found out somebody else had done it as well. So it was
Whose is
in
better?
the. It was in the.
I have hard to believe they got a
Nah,
better
they
narrator than you.
said it was. They said they liked mine.
Did they?
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah.
Nice.
But his was good too. He did all the meditations at the end. It was more. His was kind of more professional in a way, very complete.
Really?
Yeah. But it's that was on what's the other thing? SoundCloud for some reason. So, anyways, I'll find out. Recovery Dharma. It's like a Buddhist inspired approach to recovery from addiction of all kinds.
That's right. So
Process addictions. A lot of meditations and a lot of the 4 truths and the Eightfold Path from Buddhism and how it relates to addiction is pretty interesting.
So Eric P. Antoni, episode 350, if anyone wants to go back and check it out. It's worth going and checking out. We got the interview there with Eric. Check that out, and then probably get the book. I mean, we jumped right into the deep end of the pool. This is not an easy read. It's complex with a lot of crazy words in it.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a challenge.
It's 18 hours and 40 minutes long. I know because I edited it. And it's officially available on Audible and on iTunes and on Amazon. Anywhere you can get audiobooks, you can get this book. And, Eric took a big chance on us. He paid us to produce it for him. It's our first gig. It's our first paid audiobook gig.
Yeah, we've done some pro bono stuff.
We've done some pro bono stuff. We're doing some more pro bono stuff. We're also going to do some more paid stuff. And, hopefully. We're going to do the manifesto, I think, eventually.
But we really appreciate Eric giving us the.
Oh yeah, that's where I was going with that. Eric took a huge chance on us.
We said no at first. I was like, "There's no way." It felt like it was impossible and daunting, and we pulled it off. So
yeah, and we like to big shout out to Eric for taking a chance on us. So if you guys could, if you're into an audiobook, a good 18.5-hour listen. This is a great book, and your buddy Graham's reading it. It's like an 18-hour podcast. Then we'll put the link in the show notes. And we would love to see a bunch of you go out and buy Eric's book and let him see a big wave of support from the Grimerica community, which would be a good reason for maybe other Grimerica authors to say, hey, I should get these guys to do my audiobook. Maybe you guys know an author. Maybe you guys know someone whose book should be on audio and it's not. Give them a chat. Send them in our direction because I think we're going to keep going down the audiobook route. It's fun. We like it. We got all the shit here to do it. We might as well keep going.
Yeah.
The F Word, of course, is going into the Black Budget now, and that'll eventually be available on audio, not by us, but by the McGowan estate. And then, I think...
Yeah, that's done, right? So that's coming out. That will be...
Well, I'm going to get it to her before Christmas.
Are you doing it through the publishing platform?
I'm not publishing it for her.
Not at all?
But now, the good thing is now, after working through all the kinks with Eric and knowing exactly what they need for files, I'll be able to give it to her just once.
Did you say that was Dave McGowan's book already?
Yeah, Dave McGowan's book, Understanding the F Word. I would say...
as in fascism.
Yeah, by mid-February, by mid-January, end of January, that she should have that available in the store as well. And we recommend you guys buy that too, because all those proceeds would go to the website and keep all that up and going, because it'd be a real shame to lose all McGowan's work.
Yeah. And there might be more potential to read more McGowan's work. Well,
yeah, that's the other thing. If it goes well, then we could get into Derailing Democracy and Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. Wouldn't that be a great one to do?
That's not done yet in audio?
I don't know. I'd imagine none of it is.
Oh, that would be a great one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't want to talk to her about it anymore until we give her the finished files on a platter for the first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like I say, I think if the manifesto is in public domain, I think we might as well go for it.
Yep. I don't know. Let us know what you think about that.
Yeah.
That's a strange one.
We're going back and forth on whether that's something we want to be our first actual.
I mean, people, you should title it, stop calling it the manifesto and call it what it really is.
Industrial Society and Its Future.
I think is that what it's called? Yeah. Now, wasn't there a bunch of different revisions as well? We'd probably have to pick the proper revision.
Well, according to Teddy, he says you got to read the one out of his book. It's the only one that's not butchered.
Okay.
But then he said you can't read any other part of the book because the rest of it is all copyrighted. But you can read the manifesto as public domain.
Okay.
I didn't write to Teddy. He didn't write to me. It was just synchronistically, a listener of ours just got the Black Budget, listened to it all, and sent me in the note because he sent Teddy a note in jail. And Teddy mailed him back and mentioned that he'd love to see it turned into an audiobook.
Meanwhile,
and
you've already read it.
Ends up in our lap. And meanwhile, I've already read it as an audiobook, and we're tiptoeing into audiobook production. And, well, you know what?
Well, we should talk about that.
Should I read the letter or should I not read the letter?
No, I don't think you should read the letter. But I think people need to know what's in our Black Budget as well. There's some essays and there's a couple books in there now. And there's some really good chats.
That's right. That's right. Actually, the last person who got the Black Budget was like, holy fuck, why don't you tell people about this? So I'm actually going to right now quickly go and I will actually go through.
And I'm just going to describe how to get access to it because it's really just another feed of ours. We call it our Black Budget feed, and it's just extra content, a little bit more controversial sometimes or sometimes not. But you can get access by just any donation, any one-time donation or any monthly donation. So it's still sort of value for value. I mean, even if you can't afford it, if you email me, we'll give you access.
Yeah.
It's just, interact with us, get some access, hopefully donate to get access. And then we have this extra thing in there. But we didn't want to charge $5 a month or $9 a month and start splitting up our regular episodes and putting half in there. This is just somewhere for us to dump some awesome extra content in there. I mean, I want to do one called Project Operation, but
Yeah, you've been saying that for a couple
I don't
years
know how
now.
that'll turn out. But I've been keeping a long list of all the projects and operations we want to read, and I'm thinking that'd be fun to
It
go
will be
into
fun.
a bunch of those.
You're a fun guy.
Just a matter of getting time to do it as well.
Time is the problem.
So what do you got there? You got a
What
bunch
do we got?
of,
We got Grimerica psilocybus, Enter the Mushroom.
that's in there.
That's episode 1 in there.
Wow, from way back.
From way
Wow,
back. That
that's-
was the first time we ate mushrooms. I ate mushrooms and me and Joey ate mushrooms on the podcast, allegedly.
That's a bit of a shit show, but
It's a
some
shit
people
show.
like it.
Some
though.
people love it. Other people hate it. But it's in the black budget anyway. Number 2, Contact at the Cabin. That's a original Contact at the Cabin when there was only like 7 or 8 of us down in Washington State with Cyrus and all those guys. We recorded some podcasts. We also did the MSM Roundup down there.
James the Handler was there.
Yeah. Talking George Soros. We did an episode on George Soros.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Grimerica's Black Budget show.
Oh, we did one on all the
where you
all
talked
the
about the black budget.
not like this is the real black budget, not the black budget episode.
You did an
but-
episode on the black budget in the black budget.
Yeah, but it was also about the all the labs, the national labs, and
Cyber Someday. That was going to be yours and James's weekly show, but you only recorded one. So that's James Nation and Graham's Cyber Someday.
I don't think weekly was ever on the cards for that.
Well, why were you calling it
Oh, maybe-
Cyber Sunday? Cyber one Sunday a month. Grimerica interview on End of Days Radio. We've got a trip report show, an hour and 5 of just crazy trip reports, including my trip report when I thought I was going to die on acid. So I'm never going to eat acid again. Number 9, Alex Karras and RPJ. We get into UFOs, politics, and vaccines. Episode 10, The World Didn't End and Technocracy Prevails with Truffaut. Episode 11, Disney Fuckery and a Journey Through Addiction with our friend of the show, Salvatore. Number 12, Hey Siri. That's another Mushroom Mayhem episode where I say Hey Siri a whole bunch and it triggers everyone's phones. So just a heads up, when you listen to that one, it's going to keep making your phone go fucking weird if you have an iPhone. And we have Hey Siri prequel to a Dream. I think that's the night before when it was just me and Joey. Who knows what the fuck I say in those?
Yeah, these are kind of old and rough and
Yeah.
raw, so I don't know. We probably shouldn't advertise them too much.
Number 14, The Vax Rant. By me.
Wow.
Number 15, Brainstorming and Railroading. Here comes Truffaut. Number 16, Leopardy. Number 1, Grimerica versus Cruise and Mistake. That's when we tried the game shows.
Yeah.
They were fun. They didn't go well. We had Graham's Conspiracy Quiz Contest, number 17. Number 18 was Leopardy number 2. Number 19, Getting Geopolitical with It with Brian. Number 20, The Guys Chat with Their Moms. Number 21, Jordan Boner Party Bonaparte from the Nighttime Podcast. Number 22, Sam Tripoli and Ryan Davis. Number 23, Randall Carlson. Number 24, John and Titus versus the Deep State. Number 25, Greg Carlwood from the Higher Side Chat. Number 26 is Libertarianism a Scam with David Matheson. Number 27 with the Magical Joe Roop. 28 is the Pushback on my Portland comments. Interrupting Essays number 1, September 11th revisited. Interrupting Essays number 2, John Keel's speech to the Congress. Okay, so then we've got the 4 Industrial Society and its future readings. We've got a couple episodes in there of We've Read the Documents before they went over to YouTube. Some Our Guys episodes with John and Titus talking about all the fascists. We did paper number 199, Is that Cass Clay?
Oh, yeah, that was
Cass whoever.
Cass Sunstein's paper in 2008 or 2009 from Harvard, I think, on conspiracies.
Yeah,
and he was working for Obama at the time.
Then we did a Black Budget show with Billy Bones and our friend Bill Loeb. We did another one with Bill and Salvatore a little while after that. We did another one with Bill, Justin, and Adam. Shrooms and remote viewing. That's the last thing. We got the Randall Carlson pre-retreat meeting. So last March, April, we were doing all the pre-Zooms for the Contact at the Cabin. We were talking about a lot of the Colorado geology and stuff like that. So there's about 3 of those in there. And then we have the Knights of the Round Table. We had a couple of the Knights from the No Agenda show come on, and we did some chatting about the current state of the world and all those sorts of things. We got the CAC 2019 Sneak a Peek, which was that's actually the opening ceremonies and Randall Carlson's presentation from the second group in Colorado. We got the review show where we talked about Oracle cards and Odin and a couple other things we were sent in from the
listeners.
No, that was from the Publicists, Intertraditions folks.
Oh, okay.
We got a Brandon Powell breathing session on there.
Ooh.
I mean, it's a rough recording, but it gets the job done.
It's better than
if you want to learn the breath.
yeah,
it's better than the ones we had at CAC, but we got it in there so you can get some breath work technique in the Black Budget. And we got the first 16 chapters of F Word in there as 3 separate episodes.
Which is
Understanding the F Word
by Dave McGowan. And is that book finished now in there?
No, I've only got half of it in there.
Okay,
right
so
now.
the second half of that book.
Yeah, I'm just kind of spacing it out so it doesn't all come out and there's nothing, because that book will get us through like 2 months of Black Budget content.
Yeah, so that's coming out in the next while. So
I'm doing an ep a week in the Black Budget.
Good.
4 or 5 chapters a week, about an hour and a half a week.
Awesome. So yeah, there you have it. I mean, this is an interesting episode because Fleury was, when I was growing
Short
up.
episode.
When I was growing up, he's a little bit older than me. So when I was growing up and playing lots of hockey, adult hockey, he was in the NHL, doing very well.
Oh yeah,
doing very well, and going through his own shit with his demons and his addiction and all that. And as I was for many years. I mean, I think mine peaked after his, and I got sober after him, quite a few years after. But I remember those trips in the Nationals for ball hockey, going away, and then, just playing hard out of guilt. Getting way too hammered, and and then just feeling that guilt. Like it was, and then I couldn't stop coming home after that, and you can't. I remember stop.
Like
it was
back in the day when I was just like, if you're going to a game or a concert or anything, the first thing was like, how are we getting there and back? Because drinking is guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's a guarantee. Like,
the pregame.
We left the Junos because they weren't serving booze.
Yeah.
We paid like $300 a ticket. We're there for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No booze? Fuck this. We're going to the bar.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everything.
And then you go to all those concerts and games and you don't remember anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how many concerts?
I've seen Red Hot Chili Peppers twice. I remember the last time because I was sober.
Yeah.
The first time, nothing. I don't even remember like showing up.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting. It was an emotional read for me too, in a lot of ways, because just thinking back.
What's funny is I read that book like probably right around the time or right before we started the podcast.
Wow. Yeah.
And it didn't seem like it resonated with me, but all those weird things happened and I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
Just naturally.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I had that UFO sighting that I didn't think really did anything, but then a couple years later I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah.
So tough to say what does what.
Yeah.
It's an amalgamation of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, it was a good chat with Theo. We really appreciate him coming on.
Oh yeah. He's a different world from us for sure. It's a kind of crossing cultures, but it's a fun chat.
And he's helping a lot of people out now.
Yeah. He's doing the good work for sure. Doing the good work. He's a good dude. We'd love to do another show with him. The audio does get a little spotty at times. He was on the road while he was recording with us. But yeah, it's a good chat. A little out of the norm. I think you guys will enjoy it. Of course, there's some more value we're throwing your way for free, because that's what we do around here. We just give you all these shows for free because we love you and we just want to get the word out, get the message out, get the information out there. That's number one. Number 2 is filling your guys' day. Number 3 is it is good if we get a little cash back sometimes because it helps pay the bills. It helps buy the new computer I just bought. I'm buying Wirecast right away. We're spending a bunch of money. We don't really have to upgrade.
Well, we kind of have to, though, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we're
we
having
have to.
troubles.
We're having trouble with the
so-
stream, so I had to make a decision. So I made the decision. It was a $1,500 decision, and then
Not that the stream is that important, but we have to decide whether we keep going or not.
yeah, if we were going to keep going with the stream, we had to get the computer. So it was either abandon the stream or don't. And the 50 or 60 of that like to check it out all the time,
Yeah.
And it's growing, so we might as well just keep it going. So
Yeah.
we don't mind spending the money, and we couldn't do it without the folks you out there that do support us, and we can't believe that you do that. We love you for it. Those
Speaking
of you
of-
that don't, if you can, find it in your heart, head over to grimerica.ca/support today. Sign up for a monthly, a yearly, a one-time donation, whatever you can do. Whatever. If you find a little value in this show, and if it's added some value to your life in some way, shape, or form, then throw a little value back our way because that's how it operates around here, and that's all we really got.
And speaking of streams and stuff, the last stream for the holidays will be on the 21st with friends Cruising with Steak and probably Justin and Adam from Cat in the Box as well, and maybe Micah Hanks from the Grayling Report. We'll take some listener calls. I'm going to give out the phone number now too, just in case. But because you can also leave a text and a voicemail on the studio phone. It's 403-702-6083. And I don't know how we're going to take calls, if it's through Skype or what, but I know a couple of years ago we would call people back via Skype. But
Now this time I'm just going to have the phone hooked right up so they can just call the phone.
That, okay.
I think I can do that.
Okay, well, we'll try.
We've never actually tried that, but I think it's time to try.
All right. So we'll try it. Anyways, it'll be sort of a shit show fandango holiday special with a bunch of us and our podcasting friends and the listeners.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We'll get some listeners in. You guys can call in. Yeah. I'm going to get some edibles for that, I think.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of slurring.
It's the profound quote of the week. Darren, can you guess it? It's the profound quote of the week. Can you guess the human who spoke it or wrote it down? Profound quote
So this is I don't know, it's sort of appropriate. I want to try and pick things that are appropriate for the episodes, but last night we had a podcast with somebody that was talking about how they were addicted to opiates and benzos and all kinds of stuff, and it was really, really hard for them to get off. And it was all
Chris
he
Knowles.
called it off the shelf, not off the shelf, off the label. And I don't really know what he meant by that. I was going to ask him. I think he meant over the counter, or no, I think he meant prescription. Right?
Yeah.
Like they were all prescribed.
Yeah.
So I think this might be appropriate to that. The main reason we take so many drugs is that drug companies don't sell drugs. They sell lies about drugs. This is what makes drugs so different from anything else in life. Virtually everything we know about drugs is what the companies have chosen to tell us and our doctors. The reason patients trust their medicine is that they extrapolate the trust they have in their doctors into the medicines they prescribe. The patients don't realize that although their doctors may know a lot about diseases and human physiology and psychology, they know very, very little about the drugs that haven't been carefully concocted and dressed up by the drug industry. If you don't think the system is out of control, please email me and explain why drugs are the third leading cause of death. If such a hugely lethal epidemic had been caused by a new bacterium or a virus, or even 1/100th of it, we would have done everything we could to get it under control. You won't guess it. But it's a Danish medical researcher and leader of the Nordic Cochrane Center at Riggs Hospitalier in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Hans?
It's Peter.
Ugh. Oppenheimer?
Peter C. Gotz. Gotz, MD.
He was my next guest.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else? I think we're going to have to get out of here
Yeah.
because we both got stuff to do. A busy night. Busy night after work.
Go play hockey.
You got
Playoffs.
You got hockey playoffs.
Scored with 19 seconds last night. Disallowed goal to take the lead, and we lost in overtime.
Well,
and we had a 4-0 lead too. It was a great game.
Don't let your hockey escapades drag you into any old habits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Other than that, you motherfuckers have a lovely weekend. We love you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
So yeah, we got a special episode tonight. I mean, I always say that, but this truly is one. We've got Theo Fleury with us. He's the NHL Stanley Cup champion, Olympic gold medalist, World Cup junior champion, and an expert in the field of relational trauma. He's been clean and sober for 14 years. He's the author of Playing with Fire, an amazing book I just finished reading. And yeah, it's good to have you here. Theo, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I guess I got a ton of questions after reading your book. I was getting a little emotional there because it's pretty heavy story. But I really appreciated your honesty, and just of course it resonated with me being a short hockey player as well. And I mean, I played at a pretty high level, and I partied a little too hard myself, so it resonated with a lot of that. But I thought it seemed like that book's been out for 10 years now, so you're still you're doing well, clean and sober. How's it been the last 10 years since the book?
Well, it's been pretty much nonstop, they say the truth will set you free. And, obviously, that's been my experience, but more importantly, I think, I've connected to a lot of people like yourself, and, there's a lot of people that sit in my audiences when I'm speaking that, haven't found the courage and the strength to, talk about the people that end up approaching, the book signing table after each event, that come up to me and tell me their story.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been, pretty much nonstop. We haven't stopped since 2009, since the first book came out, and it's mostly speaking stuff now, and it's been an amazing experience.
It's interesting because I read the book when it first came out, like 9 years ago, and I just gravitated towards clean and sober afterwards, and I don't know if it it's funny because Graham and I were talking about it before, if it's like, these things that resonate with you sort of after the fact. But so how would you compare the last 10 years of your life compared to your hockey playing career? Because, I mean, from my standpoint, what you're doing right now has got to be a lot more fulfilling.
Yeah, there's no question. I would say my life is a lot more drama-free.
Yeah.
And, I guess what's happened is, when you find your purpose, that's what drives you and that's what motivates you. And like I said, I've really been able to touch every sect, denomination of, people out there, so, I've spoken to, junior high, high school, Aboriginal, corporate, lots of different groups that deal in the field of trauma, mental health, and addiction. So yeah, I think what I do, I think touches every facet of life.
Yeah, that's what addiction affects everybody, and that type of recovery is an important message. And you come with, with the clout of pushing yourself through that addiction and still playing at a World Cup level, like a NHL level. I mean, that's incredible. And then still coming through that in the end to sobriety it's an amazing story. So I'm sure that helps your message. People see that, the professional that you've always been.
Yeah, it definitely, gives me, a louder voice than, the average person. But, I always say I'm a floor licking drunk, and that's all I am. And if I don't stay sober today, I could very easily, fall back into it, quite easily. And I would say, I have another relapse in me, but I don't have another recovery. So,
Yeah, I'm glad you follow that abstinence model. I mean, that's the way I've been handling it as well. And your story, your book, there was plenty of times in there where you had a little bit of sobriety and you chose to pick up, and then it was back to, being in the desert for 3 months with a pound of blow. I mean, this is where it takes you.
Yeah, of course. And relapse is part of recovery. I've met very few people who, have got it on the first attempt. And, I see it as you take your old toolbox and you just switch it over, right? And my old toolbox was always filled with some sort of numbing, aspect to it where, I avoided my feelings. I avoided, lots of different things. And, getting involved in drugs and alcohol is a great way of avoiding, the reality of your pain and suffering. And, when you put that down and you take away all your coping mechanisms, it's easy to fall back into that if you don't, work a good program.
Yeah. Yeah. So guilt and shame played a big part in my, my addiction for sure. And I mean, I could imagine playing at that level in the NHL and the world, in the Olympics and all that. And playing, was there guilt there for you as well that kept you in addiction from like playing? Cause I remember going on like it was just national ball hockey championships, but we'd party so hard that, I mean, I would play hard right out of guilt. I mean, it was just like, I'd have to go hard just cause I didn't want to look like a fuck up,
Yeah.
I mean, was there a lot of that kept you in there? Like, cause it must have been, did you feel any guilt there from, playing in front of so many people, but just, still partying so hard?
But you got to understand, hockey was easy for me. I didn't have to work at it. I was ultra talented, and I competed at a high level, and so but as we all know about addiction, your addiction never gets better. It continually gets worse and worse and worse, and that's what happened for me, and I could no longer manage the two.
Yeah.
And, eventually I got kicked out of the NHL, and,
yeah,
that's what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's progressive. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then wasn't too long after that, I hit a few rock bottoms, and that got me to sobriety.
Yeah.
We actually met once when we were both in a rock bottom state.
Okay.
At the French Maid in Calgary. I was actually reminiscing on that when we booked you. I was like, I remember being there with them. I was up to the same stuff, but it's interesting. It's so much nicer to have this conversation now. 12 years later or 14 years later.
It
would be at least 15 years. Yeah, I guess
years,
15. Well, my kids are 8 already, so it was way before that.
Yeah.
But
well, that's the insanity of the disease, right? And that's where it takes you. It takes you places you never thought you'd ever, go to.
And it is a progression too, right? It always seems like, for me, it was always alcohol. Like, and that's why that's the main reason I steer clear of alcohol now, is because, it's like a couple of drinks and, it's like, hey, all of a sudden a bit of blow. It doesn't seem like, all bets are off once you get 5 or 6 drinks in you. I mean, everything starts coming up as a good idea. So it's, I mean,
well, that's why they say one's too many and 1,000's not enough, right?
Yeah.
So,
So how does the relational trauma come into this then? You're obviously helping people out with that as well. You went through some abuse as a kid, and you came, you got honest about all that, which obviously helped. So that's part of your, how you can help people now as well.
Yeah. Well, I believe that the core of every single issue we have in society starts with trauma. And trauma leaves us in emotional pain and suffering. And then how do we deal with this, emotional pain that's left behind from these traumatic experiences? Well, we tend to gravitate towards the dark side of life and get involved in addictions, right?
Yeah.
Because it allows us to cope and manage and, deal with, that pain. But like you said, eventually you come to that place where you got to make a decision. Am I going to live or am I going to die? Right. And I've seen many, many examples where, they talk about it in the program, right? Jails, death, and institutions, right?
Yeah.
So, that's where we go. And, I knew that I was better than what I was showing the world, and, stopped drinking, but I still had the ism, and, I needed to work on the ism part and get that under control. So, and a lot of this trauma happens to us when we're in relationship, whether that's our parents or, my abuser or, whatever it is. And how am I going to get out of this? Well, I'm going to need to, first have a relationship with myself instead of running away or fighting or freezing or whatever it is, and, have a relationship with myself. And if I have a good relationship with myself, then, everything else takes care of itself.
What's your take on some of the newer addictions that are coming in? I mean, obviously there's a huge opiate problem, but I'm talking more like, I think it's starting to become apparent that people are using phones and video games
process addictions
and movies or whatever. I mean, sex, fill in the blank. There seems to be, eventually busyness is going to be, that's the main one. Everyone's mainline in their busyness. They're so busy that they can't think about their problems.
Well, that's an avoidance strategy, right? You can't deal with life on life's terms. So you're going to, put yourself in some sort of place where you don't have to think, right?
Yeah.
And deal with, life on life's terms. And so, yeah, absolutely. These companies are very, very smart. They know that there's an addictive aspect to it. And so, I've already heard of a couple cases, in sports where these young guys, are addicted to video games, so waiting to hear, the first guy going away, for video game addiction. Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And, the whole opioid thing is, I sort of have a theory on that, is that, there's a chemical that we produce in our body called oxytocin, and it's the drug of love and connection.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so, those of us who, had parents that, weren't available to us or, gave us the nurturing and love that we needed as a kid, the pharmaceutical companies knew that we had a whole bunch of fucked up people who, didn't have this relationship aspect as a part of their DNA. And so they created a synthetic version called Oxycontin. And when you look at oxytocin and Oxycontin underneath the microscope, they look exactly the same, except except that Oxycontin has one little extra arm attached to it, which is the addictive part. And so, when I, talk to heroin addicts and people who are addicted to, these opioids, I say, well, why do you do it? Well, they go, because every time I take it, I get this warm and fuzzy feeling. And so it emulates being in a, sort of a relationship type of situation. And so that's why people get hooked immediately, is because, it gives them that feeling of relationship.
That's interesting. That's like the theme we've been running with here on the show lately too, is that seems to be all the groundbreaking research is pointing to the opposite of addiction being connection. And if we could just, and it doesn't even have to be in a relationship, in an intimate relationship. I think it boils down to a lack of community, a lack of, the analogy I use is like, even when I was a kid, we would at least once a month, and it was my grandma, credit my grandma, because she made sure. And it was like, since she passed away, it doesn't happen anymore. I moved away, but she made sure once a month, Easter, whatever it was, whatever that long weekend was of the month, the whole family's getting together down at the property, and we're all eating and we're hanging out together for a whole day and a whole night. And even that, I find, is gone. Like, even on Christmas, it's a bunch of, just nuclear families in a sense. And, that's got its own value, but I think we're really lacking a greater sense of community.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe that, the way out of this is community, right? And we were always, as kids anyways, we go to the rink and get our community fix, right? Or so teammates and parents and coaches and all that stuff. And so, now that we have phones and video games and all that, it's really taken away from all that.
Yeah.
You got to force it now. You really got to try and force it.
So that seems to be part of your strategy with your, you've got TheoFleury.life, and you do some motivational speaking and coaching, and a lot of it's about conversations and just to build that honesty and community, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question that, we lack a lot of that old school kind of community stuff. And, in a lot of my sessions that I do, it's very community oriented, community based. You get a bunch of people in a room and use vulnerability to create safety. And, once you have safety in the room, that's when, that's when the magic of healing happens.
So what kind of advice would you give people or kids, anybody really, that have been in abusive relationships, or some of that sexual abuse that, that aren't sure what to do?
Yeah, I think it's just finding, a safe environment where you can, talk about this stuff. And, that's the biggest reason why we're in the situation that we're in, is we haven't created a safe space in society yet where, we can talk about trauma. Everybody's aware of mental illness. Everybody's aware of addiction stuff, but, we don't talk about trauma. And because we don't talk about trauma, this is, the state of, where we're in as a society is, everybody's so afraid of being judged and,
stigmatized.
People don't feel safe. And, so that people end up, masking it with addiction, when whatever you want to use, right? Drugs, alcohol, food, sex, gambling, video games, whatever it is, right?
Did you, you went through the 12 steps? Was that your gateway to sobriety?
Well, I went through the 12 steps, but I still wasn't, totally there yet. And so, 5 years ago, I left, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I left the program and went on a spiritual journey, because that's basically what the first 3 steps are in the program. And, I've been on a spiritual journey ever since. And, it's that spiritual journey that has sustained me and kept me, clean for, whatever it is, almost over 5,000 consecutive days. Is, that spirituality is absolutely the core of, my sobriety.
That's a unique aspect the 12 steps seem to have on it. Is that like people who, and I mean, power on anyone who can give up their vices any way they can do it. But the 12 steps seem to have a unique ability to not just get you through that, but also sort of start turning on some other switches, and chasing down that trauma and making amends and all those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a,
but I still find that, there's a lot of 12-step groups that, don't really like talking about sexual abuse, and they don't like talking about, drug addiction and all that, so it was so, and you can go to as many meetings as you want, but if you're not working, the program, being sober is one thing, but having serenity and peace and joy and happiness is really what you're striving for, right? And so, that's why I went on the spiritual journey, because the program just wasn't doing for me. I was still irritable, restless, angry, resentful, these kind of things, and so I needed to find something else. I needed to find spiritual teachers and all that. And I basically found it all in the Aboriginal community.
Good for you.
I started participating in ceremonies, and I love sitting in a sweat lodge and doing that kind of stuff. And it's really where I feel the most connected is when I'm in ceremony and participating in those type of things.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's kind of why I resonate towards this program called Recovery Dharma, where it's about addictions of all kinds and mindfulness and sort of Buddhist practices, where it's not just about being an alcoholic or an addict, but it's just about addictions and life, and really it's more of a mindfulness kind of program following the Buddhist system of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. So how did you how were you able to, because I'm actually a status Indian, but I haven't been able to, I've been disconnected it from so long that trying to tiptoe back in to get my kids into the culture and to learn it myself, where did you turn to get back into that?
Well, I've been to 420 different Aboriginal communities in the last 10 years, and it's been, it's been those people that, have given me my life back spiritually. So, it's about seeking out elders and spiritual teachers and medicine men and, that kind of stuff. And I would say the majority of them are, that they're more than willing to help you if you're looking for the help that you need. So,
Yeah. Do you have any advice for kids and parents that are in, youth hockey programs right now that are, I talked to some friends that have kids in there, and it seems to be quite intense, where it is, everybody still has hope that their kids are going to be in the NHL, but it's pretty clear that they're not going to be. There's a lot of obsession over hockey. And I was there. I mean, in the 80s, I was there in the 80s, and I was one of the better players, but never the best, never at the point where I figured I was going to go anywhere. And I was trying to reflect back after reading your book, Theo, about what was my, because you knew you were going to the show, and that was your goal, and then you kind of did that. But there's a lot of I was trying to think back, was I really interested? I don't think I just think that I was kind of in the middle on that whole thing. I wasn't really too. I kind of knew I wasn't going to make it, but I feel like there's a lot of delusion there now with kids and parents, and a lot of intense fighting and arguing. Do you have any advice for them on how? I mean, because barely anyone makes it to the NHL. It's very, very hard.
Yeah. Well, that's what I tell them. Your kid's probably not going to play.
Yeah.
It's just the sad reality is that there's only 700 jobs in the NHL. and most of them are taken because Ovechkin has a 10-year deal, and Crosby has a 10-year deal, and Malkin has a 10-year deal, and Taves has a 10-year deal, and Kane has a 10-year deal. So what I tell them is, you have 9 million kids worldwide playing for 60 jobs a year. That's it. And these 60 jobs aren't the elite jobs. The elite jobs are already taken.
Right. Yeah, that's just to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, that's to be in the bottom 6, make your $1 million a year and going up and down the ice, so, hockey's become, or sport in general has become a business, right? You got all these guys that are, selling these aftermarket programs, right? Where, I can get your kid to be a better mentally tough athlete. I can get your kid to be a better goal scorer. I can, And, at the end of the day, your kid's not going to get you out of poverty,
Right.
You might be better off just being a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or why don't you go to school and get a free education by using, your hockey talents and your hockey ability, so that when you do fail and not make it, you have a plan B.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, that's definitely the one.
Like, I'm one of 39 guys in the history of the game to have played 1,000 games and have more than 1,000 points.
Yeah.
There's only 39 of us.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Jeez,
that's pretty good company.
Good. And, I was a good player, but I'm still only in the top 60 all-time scoring. So,
So here's without mentioning any names, like what does that battle to the top toll? What kind of toll does that take on a person? I mean, obviously you had some extra circumstances around your rise, but I mean, it seems to be like that whole thing's got to be a little bit weird, right? You're making a bunch of money. You're just a kid. You're being judged all the way up, and then you're a superstar. You always get like what level of how much trauma does just getting to the show come with?
Well, I just think I was lucky. I was in the right place at the right time, and somebody liked me, somebody in the Flames organization liked me and, gave me an opportunity, and, there was just a small crack, opening in the door, and I kicked the door down and, made the most of it. So, but, I grew up in that old school military sort of mentality with coaches, right? They were quite abusive, and, they would say and do anything to get you mad and get you motivated. And so, you can't do that anymore,
Yeah.
different.
Right. Yeah.
It's a different, it's a completely different breed of athletes that we're producing. And so, but
you worked pretty hard too. I mean, you were always a hard worker.
No
you
question.
were there, dedicated completely to the end. I mean, and then I think one of the things that you might have underestimated at the time was the positive affirmation and visualization that you were doing. Like sometimes I try and do that too, get in that mode where you're visualizing yourself like scoring goals or whatever. Yeah. And I mean, you were doing that, which it's funny because you can go through life getting to the NHL and at the highest level of that through positive affirmation and this visualization, yet also fall into addiction. And then that must have played a part eventually into getting clean and sober as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think, I'm just one of those people who had the right DNA, and, I luckily discovered hockey, and, that's where I was supposed to be. And, so, people don't look at that stuff, that, I always laugh because I see all these guys on social media who are, selling that they can teach some kid to be a better goal scorer. And I'm like, I just laugh when I see that, because, that's DNA shit. You know, you come out of the womb as a goal scorer, and hopefully you find that, you find it, right? That stuff you can't teach that stuff,
No, I would say all 700 jobs are almost, you're born. That's a natural talent that you're lucky enough to find. Same with like throwing a baseball 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
There's no, all the practice in the world isn't going to get me throwing a baseball 100 miles an hour.
Well, your DNA takes you to elite status, right? But, there's lots of people that can improve, in certain aspects of the sport where you can have a 5, 6, 7, 8 year, 10-year, career, but there's hundreds of thousands of millions of kids that are on that level, right? And so those are the kids that are competing, for those jobs.
Yeah.
And so it's highly, highly, highly competitive at, your bottom 6 guys, there's millions of those guys around, if you can break into the top 6, those are the guys that have 10, 12, 15, 20-year careers. Those guys that have that DNA already, coded in them.
Well, Gretzky said in your forward that you were the big game guy. You're the guy that they count on in the big games. So is that part of DNA too, or was that partly learned? Is that confidence? Like, why were you the guy that would score in the big games?
I don't know. I just love to be in that position. And I knew that
you thrived on that stress, right?
Yeah. I was, but because I was lacking attention, if I scored a big goal, then all the spotlight's on me, and it was a great feeling. So there's a bit of that. There's a bit of that, to it as well. So
there's also something to wanting to be in that moment, right? I mean, a lot of people think they want to be at that moment, but then when the coach taps them on the shoulder, they're like, "Fuck, I don't know if I want to go out there." I mean, that's the same thing with public speaking or starting a podcast or anything. I mean, it's easy to. And I really think, I'm a huge proponent of manifestation and intention and visualization.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Just thinking you can do it plays a huge role.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think you can make it happen,
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah, I believe in all that stuff, that, there was only one person in the world who thought I could be sober, and that was me, right? Everybody else was like, kind of wrote me off, and so, and that's what recovery is, how bad do you want it, and what are you willing to do in order to achieve it, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how many times people, encourage you or whatever it is. At the end of the day, it's you have to do the work, and you have to, you're the one that stays sober.
Yeah, I guess when you're at your most likely to relapse, there's not going to be anyone there. I mean, the guy at the liquor store is not going to be like, "Hey man, no, you're not drinking," or it's got to be you, because when you're in that moment, you're not going to want to tell anyone, or you're in that bottom of the shame spiral, and you're just like sneaking off, or whatever it is. But you can't count on it. If you can't count on yourself, you're in a world of trouble.
But the spiritual aspect of that moment of sobriety, like even in your book, Theo, when you wrote about that last, when you kind of knew, when you basically pulled the plug, like when you finally totally sincerely asked for help and surrendered, was the moment that you got clean and sober. Like it was clear in the book that there was that final like little thing that you just surrendered completely, and that's when it happens. And it's so interesting that principle of surrender is so powerful, but it's hard to explain to people. It's hard to put into words, or how do you do it? But there's that feeling of just, okay, you've had enough. Ask for help, reach out and ask something, some higher power for help or whatever.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
What's your? Do you have any opinion on the route people are going now, where some of these people are going down in the Amazon and going the ayahuasca route or the psychedelic route down there to deal with addiction. Do you have any opinion on that, or do you think that's do you have any opinion on it?
Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I know that I don't need to be fucking shitting and pissing myself to have a spiritual awakening. So,
Yeah.
you know, and puking and throwing up. I already went through that, you know?
Yeah. In a sense you did. Yeah. For 20 years.
Right. So, you know, yeah, whatever works for people, you know, if that's what you need to do in order to, you know, have a spiritual awakening, go for it, you know. But you know, so
Do you have a daily?
I just assume to, you know, stay absence from, you know, all that stuff, and you know, I just don't drink.
Yeah.
Right. I just don't pick up.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, I play the rest of the movie out, right? You know.
Yeah, it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well.
That's me catching a flight to Colombia, and you know, right,
waking up,
going right to the source.
Yeah, waking up in a different country. Yeah.
Waking up in a crack den looking for fucking white specks on the floor. That's where I end up. So.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I don't really touch that psychedelic stuff either. But if people, it's healing for a lot of people. And if they want to do it, then that's fine. Do you have a daily or regular spiritual practice of meditation or anything to keep you grounded when you're not in the sweat lodge or anything like that?
Yeah, I do a lot of prayer stuff. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, and then, you know, obviously I try to get into the sweat lodge as much as I can, because it's, you know, for me, it's just, you know, it's one of those places I really feel at home and I feel connected, and, you know, so it's one of those rituals I love to do.
Yeah.
Do you use the talking stick at all in any of your work or anything like that to help create safe space?
No, I you know, I have lots of talking sticks that have been given to me, but, you know, the biggest thing for me is, you know, the word vulnerability. You know, I think the more vulnerable we are, the more we create, you know, that safe space and that safe environment for, you know, other people to, you know, talk about what happened to them.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Right on. Is there anything else you think you want to talk about before we let you go? We appreciate your time and talking about.
Yeah, no, I just think that you know, you have to find your own way, right? And you have to find, you know, what feels comfortable to you, what you believe, and, you know, at the end of the day, just don't pick up. You know, instead of picking up a drink, pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
it's that simple. But that was one of the hardest things that, you know, that I struggled with, was picking up the phone and talking, you know.
Yeah.
But once I grasped onto that concept, you know, every time I did it, it got easier and easier, and, you know, all of a sudden I have, you know, 5,000 days.
Yeah, good for you. You ever thought about putting your book on audio at all?
Lots of people have asked me to do it, but I don't have the time right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We do audiobook production.
We're just so busy, you know.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, man. We need people like helping out with addiction, because, man, it's a losing battle right now. I mean, it's getting worse and worse out there. So,
well, I encompass the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma's the catalyst. And, you know, we don't talk enough about trauma. And, when you talk to people about having a gun in your mouth, and you talk about being raped 150 times, you know, that really kind of, you know, puts it into perspective for people, you know. And, you know, I'm a big advocate for, you know, talking about trauma, because, you know, if we don't talk about our trauma, we're going to continue to struggle with whatever it is we're addicted to.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
So you must be. Are you a big fan of Brene? Have you read any of Brene Brown stuff? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, awesome. She's great. Yep. She's the queen of vulnerability. So
yeah, that's who like opened the door for me. Sort of was starting to read her books and go down her stuff, and she does a great job of getting it across.
Yeah. Yeah, she puts it in a very simple form that you can understand, right? So,
well, Theo, we thank you for your time and for our only Stanley Cup to date. We almost got there in 2004, but it's not. I don't know. Maybe in a few more years. But and thanks for coming on the show. And I mean, I couldn't be happier to have you on now. I mean, in a weird way, I'm happier. My 12-year-old self would kick my ass.
Yeah.
But I'm happier to talk to you now than I am when you were scoring all those goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, you figure out what really matters in life, and hockey's just a game, and what we do every day is life and death, and I think that's way more important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have to do this again sometime. Maybe next time we'll get you in the studio.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy. And we'll put your website in the show notes and stuff, and we'll link to all your motivational speaker website and all that.
Cool.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Right on, buddy.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Okay, take care.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye.
And that was our chat with Theo Fleury.
Yeah, that's good, man. That was inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah. It's
one of the top 50 hockey players of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I'll probably talk more about this in the intro to the episode, but I mean, this is when I was, he started in the NHL, I think 87, 88 or something, 88, 89. That was right when I graduated high school.
Won the cup in 89.
89. Yeah, well, that was his first year.
With the Flames.
Won the Flames Cup in 89. And that's when I graduated in 88. 89.
Is it?
And so I had already been through, I think I'd already quit hockey for a half year because it was it was a joke with all the scouts and the competition. And it wasn't fun. We went through a phase, me and a bunch of friends went through a phase where it was just ridiculous sort of politics and pressure in the game. And we're like, forget this. But, still got invited to Junior B at one point, but I mean, it was weird being a small kid, right? Nobody thought you could ever make it, right? It's just automatic, no, he's too small. It was all about size. So to see a guy like Fleury, right from the start in his career, he was putting up the numbers and he was playing his heart out. And the book was interesting because it talked about small town, Saskatchewan and Winnipeg or Manitoba. And, going from rink to rink and people would come and sort of see that little guy play, right? And he just knew he was going to the show the whole time. That's really, really interesting.
It's the visualization part of it, I'm telling you. And you were doubting yourself already.
Yeah, yep.
So that's okay. If you would have made the show, you would have just been a wreck.
No, I never really, we had it.
The podcast wouldn't be here anyway by any stretch.
We had a lot of good players in our team, and they were better than me. So I mean, already you're thinking, well, there's no way, right?
Unless we all make it.
Yeah, and the scouts came out once to our team. This was in when we were in AAA or whatever, and they're like, "Okay, guys, the scouts are here. We were 8-1 in exhibition, and everybody's like, This is when all the good players ended up on one team, kind of, right? Which didn't happen very often. And then we went 3-33 for the season." Everybody started playing for themselves.
Everyone's showing off.
Oh, it was just the worst. And that was probably the beginning of the end of thinking, oh, what the hell's going on here?
And you got into the drinking.
Well,
15 years of that.
More than that, probably. More than that.
20? I think I did.
22, maybe?
I did from
22 years?
I was real bad from probably 22 to 30. I did 8 bad years. But it was 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years total.
Yeah. But it's just good to see a guy like Fleury that's still there, still clean and sober, 14 years. He's still doing it. He's preaching. He's putting his money where his mouth is, he's preaching it. He's living it, and he's helping people all over, 400 and something.
Driving home from a talk.
Yeah.
Calling us from his car.
Yeah.
On the side of the road to do the interview so he can talk about addictions for.
Yeah.
And that's talking the talk, walking the walk, making the world a better place.
Yeah.
What else you got?
That's about it, man. That was great.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it was fantastic.
We got the Thur and Fleury interview done. We highly recommend the book, Playing with Fire. Nice read. It's really a real page turner. So if you're looking for something to maybe give you some insight into, I mean, he doesn't hold back.
No.
That's for sure. It's like, if you want to go behind the pages of,
Yeah, a little bit of behind the scenes in the NHL too.
yeah, behind the scenes of the NHL and the party lifestyle with millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in the bank.
Yeah.
And the kind of trouble you can get yourself into.
Yeah.
This is why it's good for me not to be rich. I would have been fucking in trouble, man.
Or drinking,
If I would have
man.
if I would have got rich in my 20s, that's it. I might be dead right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, here we are all clean and sober. I'm a little less clean and sober than you guys, obviously.
I was going to question you that in the middle of that interview.
About
You got to
my
be careful about saying you're clean and sober when you're smoking doobies every day. I mean, that's not, that's like a different, you can say you're sober,
but I can't say I'm clean.
Well, probably not technically. I mean,
Who made the rule book?
yeah, exactly.
I'm clean and sober.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not drinking alcohol, snorting cocaine
Yeah. Well,
off
AA's
of some
got,
hooker's
yeah,
ass.
but that's interesting, right? Because that's the way you think about it, which
Mhm.
is fine, right? And a lot of people still smoke weed, and it's a harm reduction thing, and they'd rather do that than the hard stuff. But for some people, it'll lead back to that hard stuff.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That's why
100%.
like it's still it's a bit of a gray area there.
I can
That's
see
why,
that.
but that's why people have troubles with the 12 steps. Like you can't really go to an AA meeting and not say you're an. If you say you're
So
an addict,
they wouldn't let me go to AA?
well, no, not really, because
No?
no, you can go. The only requirement is the desire to stop drinking. That's the only requirement. It's open to everybody.
I haven't drank. Actually, I can't say that anymore.
No, but
I had the sip of wine.
but that's
Does that not count? That was just to test if I wanted it. And immediately I was like, no, I don't want any wine.
That's up to you and your higher power how you want to handle that situation.
My high power give me a pretty good talking to. I know you can.
You know what? I was going to ask you about that, but I was
what?
going to wait for the intro that we're about to do right now because it's the DMT guy coming up on the next show.
I got humbled.
And I was going to ask you about if anything came up with your pot smoking in that experience.
No. It was more like, you got some work to do, bud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You think you
Yeah.
think you've come a long
You
way.
think you
just-
come a long way? No. What about this, and this?
Wow, that's
Pretty
crazy.
much, yeah. But and then a pat on the back too. Pat on the back as I headed out the door. Get back out there, kid.
Yeah, but what I was getting at is with AA, it's the 12 steps for it's all segregated, right? So you can be an AA, but that's for alcohol. So if you've got drug issues, you can't really go up there and say you're an addict because then people aren't going to really resonate with it.
That's
But
right.
then you go to CA for cocaine or NA for narcotics, and you don't want to say you're an alcoholic. So
Cocaine's a
in
hell of a drug.
AA, there's sort of an unwritten rule that you're not sober if you're smoking dope. I mean, that's kind of the way they still see it.
Yeah,
And
I
now
can get
people are
that.
going back
See,
into Bill Wilson's history and going, oh, he was on acid and all this and that, and who's he to talk about sobriety, blah blah blah. But
Well, the three of us have that in common, that cocaine took us down. I mean,
yeah,
it's not to be fucked with. If I can give you one bit of advice, don't fuck with cocaine. Not even once.
Exactly. Don't.
It's
Yeah.
a slippery slope.
Yeah. Exactly. We're gonna talk to Scott Adams about that.
I'll show you a slippery slope.
It's-
All right, guys. Please support the show. GrandAmerica.ca/support. Help us keep having these chats and growing and doing whatever we got to do at all. That energy exchange allows us to keep building Gramerica into whatever it's turning into.
Yeah.
Which is
Depends.
better than nothing.
Yeah.
It's all up to you guys.
It depends on
Let
that.
us know. GrandAmerica.ca/support. All that other stuff in the show notes. You guys could do that. That'd be fantastic. I think that's about it. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
You're just a drop in the bucket, baby. You're just a single solitary drop in the bucket, baby. You're You're just a drop in the bucket, baby. You're just a single solitary drop in the bucket, baby. Baby. Headlines they read, doom and gloom, and I drop down on my bended knee and howl at the moon, oh, and I drop down on my bended knee, pinching pennies. Whoa, whoa. Ta-da. There's $1 million house up for sale back in my hometown. Think I'll buy it up with my good charm. Buy myself a dog to be my best of friend. There's $1 million house up for sale back in my hometown. Think I'll buy it up with my good charm. Buy myself a dog to be my best of friend. Oof. I think I'll be a poet today. Sketch out the scenery. Rambling from here and there and back and forth between here and there and back and forth between here and there and to the corner store. The Sunrise Corner Store. The Sunrise Corner Store. The Sunrise Corner Store. Pinching pennies. La da da da. Whoa, whoa. Ta-da. There's $1 million house up for sale back in my hometown. Think I'll buy it up with my good charm. Buy myself a dog to be my best of friend. There's $1 million house up for sale back in my hometown. Think I'll buy it up with my good charm. Buy myself a dog to be my best of friend. There's $1 million house up for sale back in my hometown. Think I'll buy it up with my good charm. Buy myself a dog to be my best of friend. There's $1 million house up for sale back in my hometown. Think I'll buy it up. Buy myself a dog to be my best of friend. There's $1 million house up for sale back in my hometown. Think I'll buy it up with my good charm. Buy myself a dog to be my best of friend. There's $1 million house up for sale back in my hometown. Think I'll buy it up with my good charm. Buy myself a dog to be my best of friend. There's $1 million house up for they're like coast to coast, but on demand. Raw and uncut interviews, and all without no ads. One says false and one says true, and the rate you sing grows too. Grimerica is here for you. Stories from the listeners they sent to Graham. He'll read them and be amazed, but Darren may say no. One says red and one says blue, but if it's balls it just won't